Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone. Thank you, Ryan, for helping me set up. Everybody knows who I am, but I'm going to go ahead and go through the motions of just letting you know that my name is Shannon Corrigan. And I've been helping out the Blaffer Foundation with a few projects over the last month. Basically, special projects is what my title, my informal title is. And I'm having a ball. This is my first creative and residency program, we've been doing this for about 2 years. I'm not quite sure how many lectures we've actually had, but we're kind of ramping things up, and I'm here to introduce Constance today. And how do you say your last name?
Scopelitis.
Scopelitis, I was doing it right. So Constance Edwards Scopelitis is joining us for 2-week residency with the Blaffer Lee Foundation.
Yeah.
And she is working out of the Owen Community House. So she's both staying there and working there. And then she's also going to be hanging a little bit of her artwork in the studio space. And so tonight she's going to be introducing what she's going to be doing. And then what I want to do is let you know, and I have some handouts, she's going to open up her studio 4 different times at 3 o'clock so that you can come in and see her progress. And then on the 17th, we're going to do a closing talk, again at 3 o'clock. So from now on, 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And on the 17th, we'll get out some chairs and she'll do a closing talk and present her final projects. Or as much finalized as they are.
Right.
Here or over there?
At the community house, yeah. So the Owen Community House. So that's where she's working, living, and thriving right now for the next 2 weeks. Hi, Marsh. So that's the nuts and bolts of it. So again, just making sure that you're aware she's here. The purpose is for you to concentrate and work and research, but we just kind of want to take a peek at what you're doing every once in a while.
What days?
So yeah, and I have a handout
Okay,
for
good.
you, and it is in the paper.
Okay.
But the dates are, and I'll go ahead and say it, May 8th, 12th, and 14th are going to be the open studio days. And then on the 17th will be her closing talk. I'm going to give a little bit of information about her, but she is a wonderful speaker, so she can do details. But she is an Indiana artist. She is a graduate of Indiana University. And she went on to study with an American figure painter, Isabel Bishop. You've worked with the Art Students League in New York. You've been in countless publications. You've exhibited internationally and nationally. You've been included in the Vermont Studio Center, the Eli Lilly Foundation's Creative Renewal Fellowship, and we're certainly happy to have her here for the next 2 weeks with Here in Utopia. She can answer any questions, I can do as well, but there's not going to be slides. She's going to be showing you process and again introducing you to what she's going to be doing for the next 2 weeks. So welcome, Constance.
Thank you, Thank you. I'm curious. I wasn't expecting even this many people, but I'm happy that you're here. How many are artists in the? Maybe about half. Okay. And
Raise your hand, I hope you do.
oh, okay. Okay, more than half. And do you all live here? Okay. All right. Well, your Utopia really hit me good right here last summer. I did a show with 4 other women in the Contemporary Gallery, and that's where I met Dosey. And I noticed when I drove into town last year, I mean, you may think I'm a little crazy, but you live here, so you won't. After I passed the Dollar General store, I had chills thinking about it. I just felt like the oxygen changed or something. And I wasn't looking for that. I didn't know about New Harmony, which is ridiculous. I live in Indianapolis. I've just never been down here. So then, you walk around and you really feel it. I don't know, it's just something different. So when I met Dosey in the Contemporary Gallery, I was just kind of rattling around saying, gosh, do people do residencies down here? I didn't know who I was talking to. And she just said, well, yeah, I could see helping you with that. And I'm on a committee, she said. I mean, she's so understated. what I want to do tonight is, I don't want to be redundant for my closing gig on Sunday the 17th. But I thought I'd keep this a little more personal and kind of explain, first of all, how I personally became an artist and a full-time artist and a national and internationally showing artist, being based in the middle of really nowhere. You know, I mean, I hate to say that about Indianapolis, but Indianapolis is not thought of as a mecca in my national business. I have to be a little creative about how I exploit what I do in Indianapolis, because there's a stereotype that we're just country folks, and you know, if you're really good at your craft or your art, you're going to live on East Coast. Well, I have lived in New York twice. I've lived in Los Angeles. I've even lived in London, and I keep coming back here because it's so affordable for an artist to be here. My art dollars really go far. And my biggest goal is to just be making art. I mean, I just want to do my thing. So I've built a beautiful studio on a river in Indianapolis. I'm right on White River. So I like the idea that I'm back in a river area, which leads me to what I'm doing here. But let me just back up 1 second and tell you, before I tell you how I got here or why I'm here, I'll tell you how I developed my life as an artist. And I think a lot of you will understand this when I say, when I was a little girl, I was a total tomboy with no opportunity to be on a sports team. In my generation, there just weren't. I grew up in the inner city of Indianapolis, went to public school. I went to a school that there were no girls' sports, no opportunities. So when I was little, my dad was cool enough to really see me, know me, and understand that from a very young age, he could toss me a baseball, I could catch it every time. Then he got me into archery, and I could hit a bullseye. He eventually put me on the trap and skeet line, and I could shoot whatever went in front of me, and I ended up on the IU rifle team. Oh, I thought that was a wreck. Okay. So my point in bringing up these activities, and there's a big one that I'll tell you about in a second, it's eye-brain-hand coordination. You know, if you can see a target, or if you can see on a canvas or a piece of paper where you want to go with your, then you can do it. So my dad connected those dots for me and helped promote my eye-brain-hand coordination. So then he really did it, and being in Indianapolis, city of the 500 race and all of that, my dad wanted to be involved in racing so badly. I was his eldest child. I was the puniest, skinniest, underweight kid in the world, but he put me into a race car, and I raced for 7 years of my life in a quarter midget race car. And the goal was, you're on an oval track, and you have to make a perfect circle around an oval track to be the fastest. So again, it was eye-brain-hand coordination. So the racing is what gave me, I think, the audacity and the courage to think, well, I want to be an artist, and of course I can do this. I've been successful at this and this, but you know, they were all sporty, tomboy things. So skip ahead to age 14. I was born in Bloomington, Indiana. My parents were teenage students at IU when they had me. And by 14, I had decided my parents didn't know anything. They couldn't tell me anything. I was the worst smart aleck kid. I tried to hitchhike to Woodstock because I wanted to go see Jimi Hendrix so bad. Well, I'm 14 and I weigh 87 pounds. And my best girlfriend and I had been plotting all summer. We made homemade backpacks out of pillowcases. We put lip gloss, hairbrush. I don't even think we took a change of underwear. I mean, and we literally got 8 miles out of town. My mom and dad knew what we were doing. You know, back then most of us hitchhiked a little bit, so we weren't scared. Well, we had to get 848 miles to Woodstock. All right, so my dad roars up in a Thunderbird, and it was the first time he dropped the F-bomb on me, because my dad and I were really tight, and he never yelled at me, but I was in big trouble. So my punishment was to go to Europe for a month with my grandparents, because my parents didn't even want to look at me. They were so mad at me. Anyway, it changed my life. We went on what was called the Grand Continental Tour, went to every museum, every church. I saw artwork, just totally changed my life. I decided, okay, enough of this barefoot tomboy stuff. I outgrew the race car, and the rest is history. So, my master work is considered drawings. Again, that is a process or a practice, which is very meditational, I think, where you have to know where point A is and where point B is so you can get that pencil point across blank paper and accomplish the image that you want to create. So for me, it's almost like medicine. It keeps me calm in a chaos world, keeps me quiet, makes me happy, because you can see the tangible evidence of your efforts. Every time you get up to go to the bathroom or get a drink of water, you come back and you've covered more square inches. These are actually drawings, but they are colored pencil on wood instead of like graphite on paper or such. I discovered this by accident a couple years ago. I was fooling around with some materials and realized that I use Prismacolor. Prismacolor pencils melt almost like wax or velvet right into the wood, and they stay totally put. Like, I don't encourage anybody to do this, but if I was to gently sweep my finger, it doesn't smear at all. Paper's a whole nother thing, you can't really touch it and all. So these blankets came from the COVID era, where I was battling a lot of health things like everybody else was, and I was home by myself, and I had my favorite blanket always around my shoulders, and I was listening to my favorite music. So I started out drawing these blankets. I called them recovery blankets, and the beauty of music in your ear while you're comforted. And so the original blanket drawings are all named after rock and roll songs. So if you'll indulge me, I'm going to read you what the original artist statement is on these drawings. I've got, in a world on fire and in a world literally drowning, earthquakes, droughts, wildfires, and floods are defining our lives in constant recovery mode. The American Red Cross lists blankets as one of the essential items needed for survival. Earth's inhabitants are fresh from coping with COVID infections. Environmental sources are blamed for many medical illnesses today. And to be human is to fight addictions as well. We are all recovering all of the time. So I am using the image of a blanket to symbolize comfort and warmth wrapped around one's shoulders, recovering while listening to music. So that was my first kind of foray into this concept of a blanket. And I have brought here a couple of photos of how I dropped the blanket on the floor or on a stool, and I can kind of get folds and arrange things until I get a pattern that I like. It was by accident. I got up to get something to drink, and the blanket fell onto the floor into a pile, and I came back and I'm like, ooh, that would be a great drawing. That's the only way. I mean, that's how it happens. It can be super simple like that. So what I've done, or what I'm doing now with you all here, is I have morphed the idea of the blanket to be relevant to the tribal nations that were living along the Wabash River. So in a simple statement I have here, historically, Native American tribes, including the Potawatomi, Miami, and Kickapoo, lived, traveled, and traded along the Wabash River. Blankets were central to their existence, used for trade and daily life. So my research will focus on the native fruit plants that grow along the Wabash, and the blanket drawings will incorporate the colors of the fruit. Okay, so this is a mulberry bush. You know, just do a little research on what things look like. I am here at a slightly awkward time because the blossoms are already gone and the fruit won't be here for several months. But hey, I've researched, I know. So another little nifty thing, and I hope you can see this. The blankets, as I piled this blanket, I use the same blanket all the time. I don't have several blankets that I work from. I'm hoping that you can see, since I'm doing fruit trees along the Wabash River, that this is slightly a fish shape with a little, I see that. Not everybody may, but I feel like this is a slight, like these would be the fins and a little tail, and that would be the nose of a fish. Same thing with what's going to happen here. I see this as just maybe a nose of a fish. This might be a little fin, might be another little fin shape, little tail. That's just an added bonus, in my opinion. But so this is going to represent a pawpaw tree. Has anybody ever eaten a pawpaw? They're really weird. I like them. I mean, I wouldn't like sink my teeth into one every day, but they do look like this. Big black seeds, and they're very, very yellow. The outside's pretty ugly, so I think sometimes people might not think a ripe pawpaw would be something they should bite into. But they're always described as tasting like a combination of a banana and a mango, I think it is. Yeah. So yummy. So these are the blossoms. So because the blossom is rather rosy, I threw in the rose color. So I come up with something that represents the green leaf and then the colors of the fruit. And I have with me, I don't know if you can see this. I'll have to pass it around or something. Just for the fun of it, I printed these off. This is what this blanket looked like when I first started it. And then you can see how I can get depth when I start adding, there we go, this way, adding the white and the shadows and making it look three-dimensional. A real pleasing thing occurred when I first started drawing on these wood panels, that without having to draw any shadows, they kind of naturally float right off of the surface, and they look I mean, yeah, I don't know, it's just an illusion. So I'm just sticking with that. Trying to think if there's, I really love to answer any questions. Am I telling you enough meat on the bone? Yeah.
Are these finished, or are you still working?
This one's finished, and this one I'm still working on. I still have You still have this whole area here to get in. Yeah. I spin them around and make it as comfortable for my physical body as possible. It doesn't matter. Since this is not up, down, or around, I can approach it from any direction I want in terms of drawing. Can I answer anything? Yeah, no.
So I remember you had some pieces at the Contemporary Gallery that were drawn on your grandmother's linen hankies.
They were they went back 100 years. I was telling Dosi earlier that my mother's side of the family were all Quakers, and they weren't from Pennsylvania. They were from North and South Carolina, and they came up in buggies and settled north of Indianapolis in Kirkland and Coatesville. Well, when I moved into my house we talked about this a bit, March 1st of 2020, and COVID shut the entire world down 12 days later, I had all the time in the world to unpack every single box. Well, I found a hat box that had probably about 140 handkerchiefs in it. And they went back as far as my great-grandparents. I briefly mentioned my parents were very young when they had me. Well, their parents were very young when they had them. There were only about 20 years between every generation. So there were 5 generations alive at the same time, not too many years ago. And pretty soon I'll be the oldest. It's a weird thought.
So was that body of work concurrent with the wood?
Yeah. Yeah. COVID provided for me. I didn't get COVID until 4 years after everybody else was getting. I thought, ooh, I'm I'm going to dodge this bullet, and then, oh boy, did I get it. But the isolation and the time and the quiet during that time, oh my gosh, I got so much artwork done. I got picked up by a New York gallery for those handkerchief drawings that I was doing. Those that Dosi's referring to, the handkerchiefs are only about 11 inches square, and they're very, they've got lace on them, they've got tatting. My aunts used to tat and all that kind of handcraft. And I asked my daughter, I have an only child, I said, when I found that box, I said, do you think you might want these? And she looked at me like I was crazy. She goes, what? She goes, I don't remember any of these people. You remember these people. What am I going to do? So, okay, no worries. I'm repurposing them. I was dying to turn them into something. So I started taking carbon pencils and doing very detailed drawings on these little linen hankies that a lot of them were images that are juxtaposed to the pristine quality of a handkerchief that was carried to a Sunday meeting. The Quakers call them meetings, yeah. So I got pretty wild with some of them, and the wilder ones ended up going into the gallery in New York, of course. I was also putting little wildlife animals from my yard on them, so big fat-cheeked chipmunks and frogs, and but I was also doing like hand grenades, just things that don't make sense next to a pretty lace handkerchief. My relatives probably rolled in their graves, So, but yeah, that was textiles, and then the blankets themselves is a textile. And now I'm reinterpreting that onto a different surface. Somebody saw the poster in the box on Main Street and thought that my blanket drawing was that I must be a weaver and I was making blankets or something, but.
Nothing wrong with that.
Right, I know. I'm finding out. I took weaving at IU and I was terrible at it, just terrible. So went back to what I knew. Yeah.
Another question, sorry.
Yeah.
We had a conversation and it gave me a lot of openness When you were an illustrator in London, what did you illustrate?
Oh boy, they paid me so much money. But really, it was just for a 26-year-old. I felt like I was rich. It was not a lot of money. I was just able to pay for everything I was doing. You know, I worked for a company called Longman Press, and they have a sister company in White Plains, New York. So once I did the London gig, then I went back to Connecticut, and I worked for the sister company in White Plains. This is what they had me doing, though. It was crazy. It was a publisher of books, English as a second language. And they were all over the world. Well, what they were obligated to do was reflect as many different types of people in the world as they could. So back in that day when I was doing that, I was in libraries in what we used to call what were they called? I was in the files, and I would open drawers, and there'd be National Geographics and things. Yeah, I had to find references because they would give me assignments like, we want a Vietnamese dishwasher repairman to arrive in a Scandinavian blonde-looking woman's kitchen. I'm like, okay. It was very challenging. So I was constantly in the library. I realized through my research those years ago, the bone structure in a Japanese man's face was very different than a Chinese man, and very different than so I had to get the bone structure right. Well, then they would, and in those days in London I could hand it over, but when I moved back to the Midwest, I was mailing things to White Plains, New York. So it snail crawled to the publisher. They would have their editors check it out, and then they'd decide, darn, we have too many Chinese teenage girls playing baseball. We need you to change her to a Native American. So they'd snail mail everything back to me, and they'd pay me twice. So anyway, it was a good gig for a while. I should tell you, though, that earlier today I was walking around the library section, and I was taking in all the oil portraits. Here's my claim to fame in a lot of ways. When I first got out of art school, I started making a living immediately because I'm able to do portrait art. And portrait art is the original selfie. Everybody wants a selfie. They always have wanted it. They always will want it. So I've never had to advertise. One happy client gives me another one. So at this point in my life, I've done probably thousands now for private families, universities. I do a lot of outgoing medical chair people, University of Michigan, IU, Purdue. I do a lot of corporate, very boring portraits. And that accounts for 50% of my annual income as an artist. And I cannot afford not to do the next one. It's just too good of a living for me.
Pets.
Yes, I've done some pets. I have done some pets. Now let me tell you how snobby the contemporary art world is out there. Woo, I can't advertise that. That's got to stay word of mouth. If you're doing pet portraits, that gallery in New York is not going to take you seriously. So it's a game that I've had to play. Yeah.
Have you been to the Wagner collection of prints in the corner over here?
Where? Oh, in the building next door?
No, at the corner of the street on Main Street. You should see those because they're all done Indians dressed in French attire and incredible fabrics.
Ooh. What building is it though? What's he?
We'll figure it out.
Will you
We'll figure it out.
Shannon will take me there.
And then
Yeah.
also, he has access to Thomas Say and Lucy's, his wife's incredible shell drawings, the original books, and they're extraordinary.
In pencil, I'd love to see that. Yeah. share. Yeah, thank you.
White gloves and these are little
Right,
knives.
right. Yeah. Well, sometimes when I do official portraiture, like political figures and such, I do have to go to historical societies, put on the white gloves, and go because the person is already deceased, and I'm doing a portrait of somebody that I can't have in the studio for a sitting. Yeah.
You use oils mostly?
Yes, it's all oils. Yeah, this I got well, I'll tell you, when I was a kid, I got scholarships to go to Heron Art School Saturday school. And that was life-changing too. That was during the school year because I was in that race car in the summers. So that was really good for me. And then when it was time to go to college, in all honesty, I have to say, my parents, God bless them, after I had tried to do that crazy thing of go to Woodstock, my parents, in the fall of my freshman year in high school, darkened my door together. And my parents never did that. I'd never seen them come in unity. It was always my mom delivering a message. My dad never did that. They were there, and I'm in my bedroom, and they said, we really think you are college material, and we want you to go, but we're not going to be able to help you. So if you think you want to go to college, you're going to have to get a job. They didn't have to tell me twice. I mean, I went out and got a job. 2 weeks later, I kept that same job for 4 years. I worked 20 hours a week, and I had an arrangement with the manager of the restaurant. I worked Monday through Thursday so that I could have a normal social life on the weekends. But I saved every dime, and I was able to go to IU Bloomington because there was no way I was going to stay in town and go to Heron. I didn't want to live with my parents anymore. I wanted to get out of Dodge. So, yeah. So when I announced to my parents that I was going to major in fine arts, they both gave me the biggest blank look. And my mother said, well, what is that? You know, I mean, really, you know, and I said, well, it's studio art. I'm going to be an artist. My mother started crying. My dad stomped out of the room, but I was paying for it, so they couldn't tell me I couldn't do it. So, so anyway, the rest is history. Anything else? I don't know if I've left any. Yeah.
Any thoughts on AI and how it's affecting?
I personally think that for visual artists, we're never going to be replaced by AI. I don't know if you've experimented and put a prompt into AI. It all looks like it's out of Bollywood. It's just so obvious. The colors are terrible. Everything is slick. Everything looks like Barbie and Ken. I mean, it's so bad. And landscapes even, when they look that perfect, I think the discerning eye, I think the people who are really going to have trouble are writers. Writers, I mean, that really worries me for them. I use AI for research, and it is very helpful, but you still have to vet. You still have to check everything that comes through. It's kind of like, remember the days where you thought Wikipedia had all the real answers? You know, but you have to check that too. But I just don't really think AI is going to replace the hand. You know, I think when people enter a gallery and they see the energy come off the wall of somebody's actual hand and how they've made something, that's irreplaceable. That's just my opinion. I hope I'm right. Yeah.
We should vote on that.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Okay.
Any other questions? No? Well, thank you, Constance.
Yeah, and thanks for everybody coming out. I really appreciate it.
I do have a few handouts if you want one that are going to outline her open studio dates, but the next one is May 8th. And again, that's the Owen Community House at 3 o'clock. And it's just stop by, see how she's doing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We can come up
You want-
close
Yeah.
if we don't
please, yeah.
I'm from Indy too, and I used
Yeah?
to come up with such open houses all
Oh,
the time.
do you remember my studio?